Okay, guys. So, what we have covered in our last classes, starting from the source code management, CI/CD tools, right, containerizations, Docker, and Kubernetes, we have completed all these tools. As I said, it's not mandatory that you should learn all the tools to become a DevOps engineer. If you are expertise in some particular tools, that's enough. And don't stress much to learn all the tools available in the market. That will not help you, right? To be specific, what you are going to achieve it, just learn that particular tool and just go to the interview. We'll crack that one. Okay. And again, based on the requirement, as I said, if your project requirement is to learn some tools, then you have to learn that tool and work on that. So here I'm just delivering all the tools, whatever um, designed in this course. So you may learn that one and get expertise in that areas and use that in your project. So today in this class, we'll just discuss about the Ansible, right? So what is Ansible and why we need it? What are the benefits of getting it, and how we can do the setups, right? How we can execute the script, all these things, everything from the scratch we are going to learn. So guys, um, we have already discussed about the CI/CD tool, right? The continuous integrations tool Jenkins. So Ansible is nothing but a configuration management and continuous deployment tool. It's being used for configuration management and continuous deployment. Also, few companies they use for infrastructure automation also. Okay. Now let's detailed understand what is Ansible. Ansible, let me just slide through this one. Ansible is an open source platform used for automation. It is Ansible is actually an open source platform. You can easily install it in anywhere in your machine, in any server, and you can start working. So it helping with various operations such as configuration management, application deployment, task automations, as well as IT orchestration. So what it can do, it can do configuration management. So what is the configuration management, guys? Let me just explain you. The configuration management is something like when you do such kind of deployment, right? Release or production deployment, application deployment. What do you need? An application, right? If you're going to deploy an applications, the application is required some sort of dependencies to run, right? So those dependencies you have to configure before you deploy the applications. Like suppose your applications require some sort of libraries and binaries, some files, some text files, some kind of no path to be created, folder to be created, some kind of no files to be placed in such folders. You need these sort of things to be done before your application deployment happens. So you have to do the configurations of your server, newly created server, before you do deployment. Let's give an example here. If you have a Java applications, so what you need? Your Java applications to be deployed in the new server, right? You have to deploy in the new server. So what do you have to do? You have to first to deploy the Java application or to run the Java applications. What you need? You need the Java to be installed first, right? And then what do you need? A server should be there. Tomcat server or JBoss server or Glasspiece, whatever server. You have to install the server there. Then you have to copy the required file to the particular server destinations. Then you have to start it, then you have to provide permissions, all these things you have to do, right? So that is required in the configuration management. Okay. And it also does the application deployment. Yes, once the configuration is part of the application deployment. So when we do deploy something, so you have to configure the system first, right? And the task automations as well, like the uh, uh, like automation server IT infrastructure automations, right? It does the infrastructure automations. Now what is it's easy to set up, efficient, reliable, and powerful. It's free and runs on Linux, Mac, or BSD system. Remember, guys, you cannot install Ansible on Windows Server. it is required to be installed on the Linux machine, Linux or Mac machine. Okay. However, you can make the agent. It also works on the master or agent also, right? It works on the control and agent, like the controller and the agent also. Agent in the node, master and node setups we have to do. The master is something where the Ansible is installed, right? The controller is something where the Ansible installed, and the node where you need to deploy the applications. That the node can be Windows, Linux, or anything, but the master cannot be Windows machines. It will be Linux machine. Okay, so it uses push mechanism to push the packages into the node servers using SSH connectivity. Using SSH connectivity, it is agentless as it uses SSH tool to interact with node machines. These two things are very important whenever you go for the interview, and they may ask you what mechanism the Ansible use. It uses a push mechanism. In the market, there are many other tools available, right? Safe, Puppet, SaltStack, and all these tools. So Safe, Puppet, those tools, they use pull mechanism. That means they have to pull the configurations to the machine, and there they will execute. But here what happens, the controller machine, the master machine, will have all the playbooks, or all will have all the plays and the required configurations file, and those files will be pushed from the master or from the control machine to the node machine, and then it will be executed there. Okay, so that's the push mechanism, and it is agentless as it uses SSH tool. So if you think about the Jenkins tool, we used to set up the agent there, right? We set up the node machines where the particular build to be executed. We need the agent, and there what we have done, we used to install the agent there, right? We used to install the agent to interact with the master and node machine. But here we don't need the agent, extra software to be installed on the node machine. Remember this is because it uses SSH tool. You may get questions like why the Ansible is agentless and how it works. It's agentless because it uses SSH tool to interact with the node machines, right? SSH tool to do the connectivity with the node machine. That's why you don't need the agent, and it is agentless. So Ansible required to be installed on master or control machine. Ansible required to be installed on master or control machine. Okay, there are two ways Ansible we can use. One is the CLI, and the other one is the Ansible Tower. So Ansible Tower is the enterprise version where most of the companies they use the Ansible Tower. So it is a graphical user interface. Okay. The next is why we need Ansible. Why we need Ansible. So that's most important, guys. As I said many times before, any things you are learning, any new things you are learning, first you need to understand what you are going to achieve from that tool, what you need that tool be used, where you can use that tool, how benefit you will get out of that, whatever you are learning, right? So why we need Ansible? What benefit will get it? Okay, if you think, guys, in previous days, right? Even nowadays, if your project required, suppose, multiple other 10 servers to be created, right? So what you have to do normally, you have to write a mail to the administrator, system administrator, or your manager. Then what you'll ask them? You'll ask them to create 10 environment, 10 machines. So what will happen there? So they have to create 10 machines separately, one after another, right? So one by one, they have to create the machine, and they have to set up the required configurations manually. You have to send a mail with a requirement like I need 10 Linux servers, right? With this particular Java version to be installed, and this particular Tomcat server to be installed, and those are the files to be copied to the server. So what they have to do first, they have to procure those 10 servers. They have to procure those 10 servers, and then what they have to do, they have to install those applications, right? They have to install those applications, they have to softwares, then they have to do the setup. So what will happen, it will take long time to procure and do the configurations manually, right? To overcome this problem, also there could be chances of human error, right, while setting up the servers. To overcome this problem, we can use Ansible. We can use Ansible to do those tasks for us. So what we have to do, we have to just write the configurations file as per our requirement. What you need, we need suppose 10 Linux servers with Java installed, with this Tomcat server installed, with some files to be copied. Everything you have to write to an YAML file, one configurations file, one playbook. That's called a playbook, right? You have to write a playbook, and that playbook to be executed. So that what will happen? It will connect to 10 servers and do the installations and configurations of all the requirement what you have within the fractions of minutes or seconds. That is the benefits. That's why we need Ansible. That's why the companies are requiring Ansible for the continuous deployment. Okay, so that's what it is just explained here. Let's consider a case where system admin is responsible for handling company's infrastructure, right? There are 7 servers, out of which 4 servers are acting as web server and 2 servers as data server and 1 as load balancer. So what happened? You have to install those Tomcat in the web server, right? MySQL in the database server, and load balancer for SQL, Nginx, and all this. So what happened in the traditional method, whatever I was telling, so the administrator, what they have to do, they have to log in to each server and install and do the setups for them. So 7 servers for web server means they have to 7 times log into the server, new servers, and they have to install 7 times there. Similarly, 4 servers for database and all this. So to overcome these issues and the problems, so while setting up these things, right, there could be chances of human error, right? To overcome this problem, you can use Ansible, right? So let's see any other. So what is the important terms in Ansible? Now you understood why we need Ansible, right? That is definitely you'll get questions in the interviews, right? If you're going for the Ansible interview, they definitely ask to check whether you are familiar with Ansible tool or not. Most of the DevOps engineers see how the interviews happen. So they are real time. Whenever we feel like the candidate seems okay, it's not that good in the DevOps, so we'll just ask the real time scenario. We don't ask any commands. We don't ask any things to do. What we do, we just ask whether this guy is really have ideas or not, what he's going to do, whether whatever he has experience. We'll just ask him why we need Ansible, right? Simple question, why we need Ansible. Then you can explain whatever I just told you, right? Then what are the benefits we'll get it? So then if you clearly say all these things explained confidently, right, then we'll go with different questions, right? How Ansible connects to the node with SSH, how why it is agentless, and what mechanism it follows, and what is the module. Lots of things are there. Once we move on, we'll discuss further. Okay. Now, there are a few important terms in Ansible which you must know. One is the controller machine. That is what I was talking about, the master. Controller machine or the master. This is where your Ansible gets installed, and your controller machine helps in enabling the provisioning and the servers that you manage. Controller machine or the master machine. And the other one is the inventory. The inventory, the warehouse, the inventory user, this is basically an initializing file which contains information about the servers that you are going to manage. The inventory will contain the host details, the server details. Suppose you have 100 servers, you have to manage 100 servers, right? You have to configure 100 servers. Then those 100 servers to be placed in the inventory file. with different grouping mechanism. I'll show you in the classes. Don't worry about that. Because all the 100 servers, you are not going to make it a web server or some particular single server, right? Single for single purpose. That within the 100 servers, there could be some web server, could be some database server, could be some different load balancer, could be something a dummy server, whatever it is required, right? So you have to, in the inventory, you have to keep all these things in a grouping mechanism. I'll show you in details. So remember, what is the inventory? It's basically initializing file which contains the host details, right? The servers which you are going to manage. And the playbook. The playbook, an organized unit of scripts which defines an automated work for the configuration management of your servers. So whatever the servers you have mentioned in the inventory file, that inventory, that servers to be configured, right? So whatever things you have written in the playbook, that will be executed on those servers. So it is kind of a organized unit of scripts, like the scripts, whatever you write sequentially, one after another, the task you have to write it in the playbook, and that playbook will be executed. So what is the task? The task is a block defines a single procedure that to be executed on the server, like installing the package, copying the file, all these things. And these tasks, single task, will be added in the playbook. So the playbook is nothing but it's organized scripts which having all the tasks inside it. So that those tasks will be executed. Then what is the node machine? So these machines will be used for deployment and installation. These machines will be used for deployment and installations. So the node or the server which will be we keep in the inventory file, those will be our node machines, right? Where we need the actual deployment and installations or configurations of the files. Okay. So here is the very, very simple Ansible workflow. We can see here we have the control machine here, control or master machine, right? Where what we have kept it here, we have the playbook, we have the inventory file, right? We have the playbook file, we have the inventory file, and this control machine. Remember, the control machines will have the playbook and inventory. And then this inventory will have the node details information. So control machines will connect the nodes with the SSH, with the SSH key, right? SSH tool. And then it will execute the things, whatever is written in the playbook, right? It's a very simple flow. Okay, that is whatever I told is written here. So what happens here? The control machine connects to the node with SSH and push the playbook, whatever this playbook, right? Push this playbook to this node machine and execute there. The local machine connects to this server through inventory using secured SSH connection. Once the nodes are connected, the nodes are being analyzed and the playbook codes are pushed towards each of the server so that these playbooks can configure the servers remotely, which leads to a consistent environment. So there is very less chance of, you cannot say less, will not get any errors or human errors or any kind of bugs there, right? Because everything, whatever is being written setups, everything will get in the accurate one, the consistent environment. What is the benefit? It is agentless. It's very simple, modular, efficient, and powerful and flexible. Efficient means it is no extra software required on your server. We don't need any separate agent, right? Agentless. And it is very simple because the syntax is very simple. You have to write in a YAML file, right? In YAML file, we'll write just syntax. It is very simple to write it in the English format. And powerful because the feature, whatever it has, the capability to model even the complex IT workflows, lesser time along with managing the infrastructure. Very quick time it will take to completely do the infrastructure management automations. Okay. So operations by Ansible, what it does, why need Ansible, what are the operations it is followed? It does the configuration management. What I was talking about, the configuration management, right? It does the configuration management. What it does, it provides stability in performance of your product by recording and updating the status in details, which describes the hardware, software, and the enterprise organization. Stats like versions, updates applied, and installed software packages along with the locations and everything, right? So what I explained before, if you want to install some software, some packages from the new 10 or 15 servers, you can just write the playbook, do that one, that configuration management will be done for you. So the company wants to install new versions of an Nginx on all their server machines. It won't be feasible to them update each and every machine manually, right? What I was just telling you before. So what they can do, they can just write the playbook to install the Nginx server on those, right, machines or nodes based on the inventory setup. Then what is the resource and server provisioning, configuration management, and it does the resource and server provisioning. Server provisioning in the sense we can write the code to create servers for us, like do the infrastructures for us, create the complete server provisioning, procurement, it can be done. So the companies, they choose either Ansible or Terraform. So Terraform is the tool is specifically designed for server provisioning and infrastructure automation. It's called infrastructure as code, ISC, also the Terraform. Okay. Now it does the application. So most of the companies, what they do, they're being used for configuration management and for application deployment. Apart from that, it also does the server provisioning or infrastructure automations, and it does the orchestrations as well. Application deployment, like as I said, with Ansible, we can define your application as well as manage its deployment instead of performing the deployment steps one by one. Without doing the deployment manually, we can just go with the Ansible to do the automatic deployment, right? That's the automations we do. Now, let's see about the installations of the Ansible. As I said before, guys, remember Ansible can run from any Linux machine with Python 2.6 or 2.7 or later version installed. Windows is not supported for control or master machine. However, you can use for target machine or node machine. That is what I was telling you, right? Okay, it's very simple now, guys, to install the Ansible. Let me just log in. What I can do here, I can just simply type for solder machine. Let me log in and just create the machine, okay? You can create any machines, either CentOS or Amazon Linux or Ubuntu, whatever it is, okay? Let me just go with one machine creation. Like suppose go with Amazon Linux 2. You can go with Ubuntu, you can go with CentOS and whatever. The installations is very simple. Let me go with the Ansible documentations, right? Okay, it's the docs.ansible.com. We'll get the Ansible documentations here, okay? All the how you can write and set up the environments and all. So what you can do, let's go for Ansible, Ansible.com. Okay, so Ansible.com. So what you can do, you can just go for the installations, right? Let's check it for the installations. how Ansible works and all. Deployment options, no. Okay, then it comes to the documentations. So remember, guys, Ansible is the Red Hat product. Okay, it's the Red Hat product. It's being designed and created by Red Hat only. So let's choose the Ansible installations. Installing Ansible. Okay. So we have different ways of installing Ansible. You can get all the details over here. Okay. Just let me just ping you these things to you in the chat so that you can get it. Okay. Just keep it handy. So these are the installations process, how to install Ansible on a different server by using Python module, by using directly downloading this, installing Ansible, upgrading Ansible, all these things, right? And here installing Ansible for development server, everything is given it here. Okay, everything is given it. Now let's go ahead and let me show you in one of the operating systems. Okay, so I think Ubuntu machine is running. This is the Docker machines, right? That's fine. Let's get this IP address and log into this machine. I'm going to install in the Ubuntu machine. Suppose I'll go with terminal. Let's log into the server. Downloads. Ubuntu. So just connect it to the server, and here is a very simple ways to do that. What you can do, you can just do the installations of the Ubuntu machines, right? I have this Ubuntu installations. This is for CentOS and this is for Ubuntu. Okay, so Ubuntu, we can just use some software properties. Okay, just go there. What is this? Using apt module, apt package manager, installing software properties common first. Okay, next what you can do, you can just use this repository, Ansible repository, to be added first. Install the Ansible repository. Okay, once it is done, we can use simple apt install Ansible. Once the repository is added, we can simply add the Ansible. Now what you can do is sudo apt package manager install Ansible. Right? Done. Yes. Just wait for a few seconds. It's taking time to get download and install all these things, right? Just wait for a few seconds. And if you want to get all the details, whatever the Ansible things you are going to install, what type of things, you can simply go ahead and get these documentations where to install, right? Installing for development, installing for upgrade, whatever the servers are there, right? And also installations guide. Let's do for different server, right? Ansible on Ubuntu server, right? Ubuntu, the versions, whatever you have to choose, you just get it there. You can follow DigitalOcean. That's very good documentation it has. Also, we'll have Ansible documentations. Also, it has the specific operating systems, right? Everything you can just get it there. Yeah. So installing Ansible in specific machine. So here we have all the details. Installing Ansible under See, Fedora machine, on the Fedora, on the EPL, right? OpenSUSE, Ubuntu, Debian, Windows, how we can install these things. Let me copy and give this distribution list to you so that you can copy this, keep it handy also. Okay. So you'll find all the installations, everything for EPL, for OpenSUSE. It's very simple in the OpenSUSE. You only have to use Jyper, install Ansible, and here what is I just told you, right? These are the commands to execute installing Ansible on Ubuntu. Similarly for Debian server also, and for on different other Windows also we have. Okay. Anyway, it says Ansible on Windows. You cannot use Windows system for Ansible control node. Okay, so you cannot install Ansible on Windows machines. Keep in mind this. Okay. Now, what you can do? Okay, it's 97 in percentages. Just wait for a few more seconds. Let it get installed. Taking more time. Should not take this much time. I think it is slowed down the system. It's because already the Docker and Kubernetes, Docker and different other tools were installed in the same machine. That's why it is slowing down the setups. Okay, that's the reason it is slowing down the machines. Let me quickly create one more machine. Launch instance. Suppose I'll go with Amazon Linux. Let's select Amazon Linux. Let's go with Amazon Linux 2 MI, not 2023. I'll go with 2, Amazon Linux 2, T2 micro, let it be there. Okay. The key. Eight GB should be fine. Okay. 8 GB fine should be. So let it be 10 GB here. Launch instance. Okay, so here it is done, I think. Let's see here. Okay, we have Ansible installed. Now, if I do Ansible -- version, we can find. See, we have the Ansible 2.12.10. This is the core Ansible core is installed. Along with it gives us the other version details, the config file, what is the config file is being used. Remember, this is the default path of the Ansible installations. So it will be installed under this etc Ansible. Okay, so if I do cd etc Ansible, we'll have Ansible installed on this folder. Remember, we'll have Ansible installed in this folder. Okay, so let's clear it out. If I do ls-l here, we have this ansible.cfg file. Let me explain about these two files. Once the installation is done, guys, go to etc Ansible on any environment. The same folder will be there. The Ansible will be installed under etc file system. Here it will be installed under etc. You'll get the Ansible here. Under this Ansible folder or this directory, you'll find two major files. One is the configuration file that's called ansible.cfg. Ansible.cfg. And the other one you'll find the hosts. The host is nothing but the default inventory file when you install the Ansible. This is the inventory file. So let me explain you this Ansible.cfg and then host we'll talk about, right? So what I'll do here, if I just do vi ansible.cfg, see what happened? It's just having what happens since Ansible 2.2 to generate example, this config disable one with all default settings commented out. Also, you can now have Ansible config init disable this one, for example, this one. For previous versions of Ansible, you can check, for example, the branches happening. But we are not getting all these details here. 1 second. Now, what I can do, sudo vi Ansible. Same thing is there. Also, you can now have more complete file with including existing plugins. Let us choose this command first. Why permission denied? Sudo su. Permission is always root, right? Let's execute this one. Okay. Now what I can do here, let me just open this file. Okay. Guys, now what you can see here, we have all the required file, but it all are commented, Okay. Now this ansible.cfg file is now commented. This is 1 second. I can just remove. Earlier, this ansible.cfg file was not patching the person. Defaults, colored boolean. Okay. Here you can see, right? They have actually in the newer version, they have modified lots of things in the file, in the configurations file. Earlier, if in Ansible, if you would have seen that it was very simple ways to they have written all the things in the commented format. But now these are the things. What happens here? Comma separated list of Ansible inventory sources. What happens here? You can see the inventory file. So in the ansible.cfg, the configurations file, that is why it is required all the setups what you need the Ansible to work, all the setups you have to do in the CFG file. Okay, we'll see in details, and once we move on and start working on the Ansible's playbook, right, there we need to update and do some changes in the Ansible CFG file. Okay, let's come out from this file. Now, if I just go ahead and check the hosts file, as I said, the host is the inventory file, right? So let's do this one, vi inventory. Sorry, vi hosts, right? Now see, this host file having all the details, but all the commented. This is how it says, like how we can group. See, here it has given some examples how we can write the inventory file in grouping and in the plain things, right? Ungrouped and grouped. Example 1, it has given, if you have the host name and server or IP address, you can directly put it in the machine, or if you want to group it, you can create a group collection. A collection of hosts belong to the web servers. Suppose you have 10 machines having only one group, you don't have to create a group. You can simply put it on the host machine and it will just work. If you have, suppose, with that 10 servers, if you have 5 web servers and 3 database servers and all this, then you have to create different groups here, like web servers, DB servers, and then you have to specify the things, right? All these things. We'll see these things in detail, okay, when we just move on. Don't worry. Now, let's move on and do small example here. Let's edit this host file. Okay, I don't need anything here. So what I can do, I delete the entire file. I delete the entire file. Now nothing is there. What I just created one server here, right? I just created one server. I need this server as my node machine. Okay, I need this server as my node machine. So what I can do here, I can just simply copy this. I can simply copy this and put in the inventory file. Without any grouping, I just put it. Without any grouping, I put it. Just giving an example. Okay, we'll just move further. Then we'll see in details how the groupings and all these things can be done. Now save this file. Done. Our host file is having now one invent. Our inventory file is now having one host, one server details. In order to get this host file as the default, we have to modify the ansible.cfg file. What I have to do? Vi ansible, then check for the inventory as I was searching for inventory. Okay, now we can see inventory. Sorry. Okay, so we have this inventory sections are available here, right? In the inventory sections, we'll have this inventory. Let's go for another inventory. Now let's search for rows. Okay, so here you can see here the inventory, it is actually commented, right? So what I can do here, I can just remove this particular part. Now you can see it is color has changed, right? Inventory hosts. So this particular file, host file, will be acted as inventory. Suppose if you have a different file name, then you have to specify the file name here. We'll see in details when we do the dynamic inventory, and we'll see how we can change it. Okay. Now let's save this file. Done, right? Now what I can do here, I can use few commands here. Ansible -m module. I'm going to use ping all. Yes. See what happens here. It's just trying to get all these details. So what is it? What it does? It's just pinging. I'm just using this module ping all. So how you'll use? Let's go to the Ansible documentations first. This is the installations. Okay, let's go to the Ansible documentations. Where it is? I have few Ansible documentations user guide. So this is the user guide, and here, so it gives building Ansible inventories. Building Ansible inventories. Just click in this. How you can build the Ansible. See, Ansible inventory, it has lots of documentations available. It has lots of documentations available. So before that, let's go with the Ansible command line tools here. Okay, Ansible command lines tool. You will have lots of things here. Let's check with Ansible commands. I'll check with Ansible command. We'll find how you can use the Ansible commands here. All the details are available, but you'll not little understand here. So it is giving the files config file used if present. If not, we can find it in this current directory. Okay. Now, if I just go here, just find out how it's being used. You can see Ansible and rest of the things being passed here, the parameters and all. I'll show you in details. Here, I used the -m option, right? -m and the module name, which module I'm going to execute. So what I did, Ansible -m and the module I used as ping. Then I passed all. All means whatever servers available on this machine. It will give us all the details. It will give us all the details. Okay. So now let's go this Ansible config and all these commands. We'll see in details later on, right? Let's go to Ansible ad hoc commands. We'll have ad hoc sessions later on. Web servers and all. Okay, fine. So now what we saw here, we just did a ping. That means I'm just going to ping the available server on the host machine. So currently we have only one server. It's called this 526. This is IP address. Suppose if I just add one more servers or another 10 servers, what I can do, I can just provide the IP address here. Suppose I'm going to give one other domain, that is suppose ranjitswain.com, this domain, right? Let's search, save it. Now if I do same -m ping all, what it does, it's just pinging two servers here now, one IP address and this vendor, right? Now what we do here, let's first fix it. Why it is failing? We are not able to ping the IP address. Our server is off, right? It says unreachable. Remember, when you do the setups, there should be a connectivity setup between the servers, between the master and node machines. That is one way to do, but that's the manual work you have to do. Like you have to do setups, connectivity between master and node machine, between master and node machine. The other one is to provide the key file in the configurations file and then connect to the node machine. So first I'll do in the diverse ways. First I'll show you in the configurations file and then we'll go with the manually setup. Okay. Now what I do, okay. So what was the file we had used during the server creation? It was the tar.pem file. That is a certificate file we had used, right? So we need that file now. Okay, let's go to the configuration file, ansible.cfg. Here, search for private key. Here, private key file. Okay, private key file. Let's go to that private key file here. Next, okay, so here uncomment this particular line. Uncomment this particular line. Now we have to mention here the path where you have put Ubuntu and suppose it was third.pem, the key file, right? Third.pem. Now I need this star.pem file to be third.pem file to be placed under this home Ubuntu directory, right? Let's save this file. And if I just go to the home Ubuntu, will not have this third.pem file, right? Nothing is there. Now how I'll get it? I can just, let's connect to the server on a different machine. So this is actually the certificate file present in my download folder local in my machine, right? In my laptop. So what I need this file to be copied, right? So I can use scp command, scp, okay, -i, use the path where certificate. First, we need connectivity to the server to transfer the file. I just used it. And which file you need? I need this file to be there. Then you have to use Ubuntu @ the IP address, the machine, right? The control machine where I need the file to be copied. So I need this one copied to this Ansible control machine, right? This machine. Put it there. I'll just put it home. Ubuntu. Okay. In the home Ubuntu folder. Hit enter. So the file is now copied. The file is now copied from my laptop to the Ansible machine. Now, if I do ls-l here, see our third.pem file is now copied, right? This file is now copied. So what we can do now, we have this file there and we have everything is updated in the ansible.cfg also, right? In the vi Ansible. Sorry, it is not here. So it is in cd etc Ansible, right? Yeah. If I do vi ansible.cfg file, here we added the private key file from Ubuntu third.pem, right? Now let's save this file. Save this file, right? What we can do here? Now let's do same command again. Ansible -m module ping all. Just wait for a few seconds. So it's just trying to ping the machine. Okay, just trying to ping the machines. Let's see if it is able to ping or still it says not reachable. Earlier it was giving us unreachable, right? Failed to connect the server root at the permission denied. But now let's see after adding this whether it is working or not. Okay, going on. Transform SCP transform warning. These are the warnings. That's fine. Okay. So what says it is failed? Module failed. What it says? Please log in as the user EC2 rather than user root. Rather than user root. So let's come out from the root here. If I just why it says EC2? Okay. Let's do Ansible -m ping all. Yes, it's not reachable with Ubuntu. What happens here? It says like if it is Ubuntu @IP address, right? What happened here? The machine, whatever we have created, is the Amazon machine. That's why in the first what it says, login with EC2-user rather than the user root. Rather than the user root. That is what it was asking to log in here. Okay. Now what we can see here, if we come out from the root and we used the Ubuntu user ID. Now it is asking with Ubuntu user ID, it is permission denied. It will not able to log in. Why? Because this machine where we are going to trying to connect, it's not the Ubuntu machine, right? It's not the Ubuntu machine. It is Amazon's machine, right? So we have to use this accordingly. Now, how we have to do that? Let's connect to the machine with. This is manually, actually, this is adding in the Ansible.cfg. It is asking us to please log in the user using EC2-user. So what we can do now, let's check the configuration file via Ansible.cfg. So here, you can just search for the user, we'll get lots of users. User, gather user. Yeah, the user sections will be there. So we have to just change that user. Okay, I think it's not gathering here. Okay. Now it's okay. Maybe in the CFG file, we'll see for Ubuntu machines and other machines are not working. We'll see this in details. But another way, let me show you. Other way how you can do it. Let's first do sudo su. Make yourself sudo su first root. Okay. If I do, I am actually root. Let's go to the root directory. Let's go to the root directory. Go to root.ssh. Root.ssh. Here you'll find, okay, we don't have key available now. In the control machine, we don't have key available now. Now let's go to the other machine and try to log into the node machine, right? So I'll just use download the key. It is ec2-user @ get the node machine IP address, right? This is the node machine IP address. Get the IP address. Copy this, enter. SSH-I, sorry. You have to specify -I, otherwise it will not work. Yes. Now we connected to this one, right? Now we make ourselves sudo here, root. Okay. Now what we can do, let's go to the root directory here also. Go to the SSH folder, search for here. So we have only authorized keys available. Now what we do, we have to generate the key. We have to generate the key. Okay. So this key generation and connectivity, guys, is very important in DevOps, very important in automations. Just see how I am doing this key-based authentications, right? We can have two ways to authenticate, like either password-based authentication or key-based authentication or token-based authentication, right? Now, they are providing role-based authentication and lots of things available now. Now, what I can do, I need the key-based authentication so I can generate a new key. So to generate a new key, we can use SSH-keygen to generate new key. Hit enter. Sorry, not underscore as a hyphen. SSH-keygen. Yes, so keep it all default. Okay. Now, if I do here, we have a file called id_rsa.pub. I need this public file to be copied to the host machine, right? To the node machine. Now, copy this. Okay. Before copying, let me show you whether we can able to connect from the master machine to the node machine or not. So if I do SSH, okay, root @ the node machine IP address, get the node machine IP address here, copy, paste it here. So it gives permission denied. We don't have access. Now let's copy this public IP from the master machine, go to the node machine, and here we have the authorized keys, right? Open this authorized keys, put the file here. So that copy the key here, okay? Put the copy the key here. Now save this file. After copying, save this file. Okay, as authorized key, it is added the key now. Now, if I do same things now, SSH root, see, earlier without access, we are not able to connect. Now I am able to connect the machine from the controller. Now the control machine and the node machine has connectivity, right? Let's come out from this machine here. Let's go to etc Ansible, etc Ansible. And if I check here, Okay, all files are there. Let's do the same command again. Ansible -m ping all. Okay, let's see. Just wait for a few seconds. Just trying to ping. Normally, it never takes this much of time. It's taking means there could be something which between the Ubuntu machine and the Amazon Linux machine. Okay, just wait for a few seconds. They're saying this Python interpreter because of the machine's environment on this server, right? Because this is our Amazon's machine, right? And it has some unhandled error in Python interpreter. Okay, still it is not working because it is what it says saying please log in as the user EC2 hyphen user rather than the user root. So it's not allowing you to log into the root user. Okay, now let's come out from here, exit. Okay, anyway, this EC2 user happened because here the user is Ubuntu and there the user is EC2 hyphen user. So another things we can do as a DevOps engineer should able to try to fix the problem what happens. So what we can do here, we can create one user called EC2 hyphen user on the master machine. And then we can share the key. We can share the key, this machine's key to a node machine, and then we can able to connect there. Okay, that's the different ways we can connect it, guys. Okay, these things I can, all the things whatever we have given it here. If I do the same Ansible ping, this time what it will say? It says Ubuntu not able to connect with Ubuntu. When I connected using the root, it was trying to connect with root. Okay. When I come out from the root and Ubuntu user, it is now trying with Ubuntu user, trying with Ubuntu user. So to connect with the Ubuntu user, what we can do, we can at least create one Ubuntu user node here itself and get the key generated on the Ubuntu's home directory. Okay, so if I go to the Ubuntu's home directory, here also you will find cd.ssh. See, here also we'll have .ssh folder. And here you have to generate the key and create one Ubuntu user here, and then just try to connect it. Let's do it very quickly. Okay, let's do it very quickly. I'll come out from here. Okay, let's connect to the server. What I can do, I can create user, right? Add user Ubuntu permission denied. Sorry, sudo su add user Ubuntu. Okay, so Ubuntu user created. Let's change the password. Ubuntu. I created and changed the password also. So if I just log in as Ubuntu user, use su Ubuntu, give the password. Now you can see I logged in as Ubuntu user also in my node machine. So let's go to the home directory of this. So home directory, it will be home Ubuntu, right? Here we'll have .ssh, nothing is there. So we can create one .ssh folder. This is how we have to just log in, and you can create one authorized folder. Let's go to the SSH folder. Let's create one authorized underscore keys, authorized underscore keys file, right? and there in this folder, in this particular folder, ubuntu.ssh on the master machine, create ssh-keychain, ssh-keychain. Create the key here. Okay, our key is created. Now, if I do here, the public key, right? Let's copy this public key. Okay, go here and paste it. Then save it. Saved it in Ubuntu. Now, what I can do here, the same, like if I do SSH Ubuntu @ give the IP address of the EC2 instance, right? Linux Amazon machine. Now let's copy this one. Hit enter. It says still permission denied. Let's cp exit out. Okay. Let's go here. pd.ssh authorized underscore keys. Authorized underscore keys. Let's copy this file and see. One second. Now let's go here and same thing you do, but this time change the user. Let's Ubuntu, it's not still there. If I do ECT user, okay. See, now from with EC2 user, we are able to connect. With EC2 user, we are able to connect because I shared the key SSH key of the Ubuntu user with our EC2 user. It's able to connect. But while I sharing with the Ubuntu user here, it is not able to connect this. Could be there some issues which need to be fixed. Okay, guys, so whatever we have covered here about the Ansible, just go through that and try to understand the Ansible concept here, try to install it and just play around with the ansible.cfg and post. Okay, so in our tomorrow classes, we'll discuss further with all these setups because here the configurations file, the key did not work, right? I'll just try to fix it with the Ubuntu and EC2 instances of Amazon Linux. There is some issues with might be issues with Amazon Linux and the Ubuntu machines. I'll just try to set off the different host machines and check whether it is working or not. By the time you just try to go through whatever we have covered and install Ansible and just play around with the CFG file and host file. Okay, guys, and the documentations whatever I have given with the user guide, right? User guide, everything available here. Go to the user guide and try to just learn, right? Everything. Let me ping this particular index file and so in tomorrow classes, we'll go in details and just play around with the create playbooks and understand the playbook and more details on the Ansible. Okay, that's all, guys. We can meet up tomorrow at the same time. Okay, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.